Thanks, Dr. Monto. This is a much tougher one, I think, than we had expected coming into it. The data show that the vaccine works and it's pretty safe, at least by immunobridging and even by some clinical data, some early clinical data. And yet, we're worried about all of these. We're worried about a side effect that we can't measure yet, but it's probably real. And we see a benefit that isn't the same as it is in older age groups. So for me, I think it's going to revolve around two questions. First off, whether there is going to be a use for this vaccine in this age group, and then how the decision gets made to use it within this age group. And I think what sways me here is that is a very sort of personal choice. If I had a child who was a transplant recipient, I would really want to be able to use a vaccine like this. And there are certainly kids who probably should be vaccinated. The question of how broadly to use it, though, I think is a substantial one. And I know it's not our question, but I know we're kind of punting that to ACIP. But I do think that it's a relatively close call. And as Dr. Levy just said, as Dr. Gann said, it really is going to be a question of what the prevailing conditions are. But we're never going to learn about how safe the vaccine is unless we start giving it. That's just the way it goes. That's how we found out about rare complications of other vaccines like the rotavirus vaccine. And I do think that we are going to, I do think we should vote to approve it. Of other vaccines like the rotavirus vaccine. And I do think that
I'm live.
I do think we should vote to approve it.
All right, so you heard that was Dr. Rubin from the FDA. Oops, let me get my oops. Here we go. Hey guys, can you hear me? Do I have audio? Are you guys seeing levels there? Hi. Hey guys. So I think I have audio. So that video that you just saw was Dr. Rubinstein from the FDA talking about the you-know-what, and that we're just not going to know until we know. That gives you a real sense of not so confident, right? So anyway, I just wanted to play that little video because I find like all of this connects even here to our state in Connecticut, even though I'm not really going to get into talking about that thing. But it all relates back to the thing. I'll just call it the thing because every time I say that word, it seems to get me censored. So I'm going to get right into it with some fun Governor Lamont stuff. I've got a video for you. First, I want to share this video with you. I do have audio now. At least I hope I'll have audio. This is the video I was trying to share with you guys. Let me just get this share screen up. So this is the video that I was trying to share with you guys a little while ago. And this is Dr. Matthew Carter. He is the state epidemiologist. And what he says on testing, I find to be really interesting. Can you guys see, is that moving over there for you? Did I freeze up? I might be freezing up a little bit. Let me transition back. Hold on a second, guys. Can you see me there? Hold on. I'm having a few technical difficulties, and hopefully you guys are able to see me. It looks like I'm still broadcasting. Let me try this again. I'm not sure why he's not coming in the way I would like him to. Can you guys see him? All right, I'm just going to play this for you. Take a listen. All right, hold on a second.
That are showing symptoms. Are we sort of rationing out who we can test? Because I know you said it could be the flu, it could be cold.
This is true for all laboratory tests that are done. They should only be done on people who are sick, because as was mentioned earlier, testing somebody who's not sick is much more likely to give you a false positive than anything else. So in medicine, as a rule, we don't test people who are not sick. This is not a test for, are you a carrier of this virus? The reason to do this test is actually to establish a diagnosis in people who are sick, so we know who has coronavirus infection and who has some other cause for their illness.
Voila. So for some reason, you guys couldn't see the video. I'm having a little bit of a technical snafu here. Let me just see if I can fix it. I apologize for that. Live in real time, I guess that can happen. So unfortunately, let me see if that works now. Do I got him going there? For some reason, I'm not able. Oh, there's my cursor. Okay, here we go. It's a few minutes long, so I just see him talking. I'm sure you guys probably heard that, but just take another listen. Sorry about that.
Showing symptoms. Are we sort of rationing out who we can test? Because I know you said it could be the flu, it could be cold.
This is true for all laboratory tests that are done. They should only be done on people who are sick, because as was mentioned earlier, testing somebody who's not sick is much more likely to give you a false positive than anything else. So in medicine, as a rule, we don't test people who are not sick. This is not a test for, are you a carrier of this virus? The reason to do this test is actually to establish a diagnosis in people who are sick, so we know who has coronavirus infection and who has some other cause for their illness.
Sorry about that. I find this video to be like so important, and I'm so glad that I was there while this was happening in real time, because it would have just gotten buried and nobody would have heard the state of Connecticut epidemiologist Matthew Carter talking about testing and not testing sick people. So I wanted to get back over to here into this test here. Now this is from the company iHealth. Now the state of Connecticut had contracted with the company. Now interesting developments happened here. So the Jake Rubenstein LLC has been paid millions and millions of dollars to secure PPE. Now, Jake Rubenstein, my friend Victoria Eloise talked a lot about him. There's some really sketchy things going on with this, and I'm not going to get into all of that today. Just to pay attention to that name, the Jake Rubenstein LLC, which is run by this guy, Jason Bermis or something like that. I'm sorry if I'm getting his last name wrong. It's not run by Jake Rubenstein. That's just the company. And this company is part of, like, they have companies in China. They're what you would call a globalist. Now, I know that could freak some people out, like, this is conspiracy theory. But let me tell you something. Globalism is very, very real, and you're dealing with people who have no allegiance to any place but to themselves, to their money, to their bottom line, to their stake in property, or whether it be pharmaceuticals, whether it be physical property, whatever it is. They have no nation, so to speak. They're globalists, and it's quite scary. So anyway, this Jake Rubenstein company has been paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars throughout COVID. I think like the last number I looked at was like 18 million. You can check this out in Open Checkbook yourself, and I'm not going to go too far down the Jake Rubenstein rabbit hole just quite yet. I really wanted to come back to this testing site because let's take a little look at this video. You guys should be able to hear the audio. I think you're hearing I'm sorry guys if the video is freezing up a little bit. Unfortunately, while I'm doing the live, the stream could sometimes do that, and I apologize. I don't know what platform you're on. It could be, yeah, I'm seeing that's slightly a problem there, and I apologize for that. I got to figure out why this technical glitch is going to happen, and it could be just because they're shadow banning me. So thank you for letting me know that. I'm hoping that it can still go. I do see that I'm getting some flashing orange lights, which means that I may not be streaming at such a high quality, and that could be a tech glitch that I need to work out in my software system, because I definitely have enough internet to be streaming to you live right now. Let's take a gander at this here video. This is how to do this test. Take a listen. I'm definitely struggling with my internet today, as I can see. Oh, error, please try again. Oh, please try again later. Well, why is that? Oh, that stinks. So, sorry about that, guys. That video, I'm having some internet problems, so let me not play you that video. Let me get back to, I want to take you back to eye health, the eye health test, because it's very interesting. We could just take a look. Oh, Presearch is a great search site. So if you saw that Presearch search engine, it's wonderful. And I apologize if this video is freezing up. I'm just going to go with it, see what happens, and then try to work out that glitch later on. So this is the test, and what really is shocking to me is when you see the video, there's quite a few steps that I think would lead to a lot of mishaps with this test. People aren't necessarily equipped to be doing these diagnostic tests at home. And one of the things that this really reminds me of is the 23andMe test. And I never did that test, but it just reminds me of a similar thing. You're taking, you know, parts of your RNA, your DNA out of your nose, you're putting into this test tube. What else could they possibly be collecting? And that's a very, very valid question, considering that the Chinese have really collected a lot of genomic DNA, genomic data, and have the biggest genomic database in the world. And the gold rush is, it's us, it's our DNA, it's being able to do all this stuff. And I apologize, hopefully you guys are able to even see me if I'm not freezing up on you. I'm getting a lot of red and not much green. So this is eye health and the steps that do this. And another thing that was really interesting to me, and I'm not sure if you guys caught this yourselves, but what's really interesting to me is the fact that it says flu or COVID. Now, I don't think that you're getting a test that's specifically, I want a flu test and I want a COVID test. They're going to pick up either the flu or COVID. Now, we know from the CDC that they have taken away the FDA They have taken away the FDA emergency usage authorization for their PCR test because the test does not distinguish between coronavirus and flu virus. So that's a real problem if you're not able to distinguish which is which. So I find it really interesting is flu or COVID. So when the governor got all these tests, and I can't find that exactly on the website. It's very indescript. It just says up here, flu or COVID. As you can see, this is what it says. Now, I know that the CDC has taken away the EUA for their PCR test because it doesn't distinguish between flu or COVID. So I find this really interesting. And I just find it interesting that this whole thing went down. These tests didn't come. Some of these tests are going to be in some towns. They've gotten, apparently Governor Lamont bought the tests from CVS. This is what is being reported in the Connecticut press, that Lamont brought the test from CVS, guys. He brought the test from CVS. So let's go take another look over here. I wanted to share with you something. This is a press conference. Let me transition here. So this is a press conference that was just a couple of days ago. Lamont has an N95 mask on, okay? Now, I'm just going to play this little video for you. Hopefully everything is going to work. I do definitely think I'm having some streaming issues, and hopefully that clears up and you guys are actually able to watch this video and I'm not just broadcasting out to nothing. But it is a new system that I'm working out here. So here is Governor Lamont, and this is him talking just like the other day. But the reason why I want to share this with you is just look at this guy, okay? Look at him. Hold on a second. I'm not sure why I'm not getting audio here. Hold on, guys.
Along, doctors have said we need to get to.
Here we go.
Neuroimmunologist Dr. Sharon Stoll today, she thinks we're near, if not past that point of herd immunity with the Omicron variant, adding in general, when viruses mutate, they become more contagious and less virulent.
This is no longer a novel virus that our immune systems and our bodies have never been exposed to before. And I believe it's that combination that is making it much more tolerable and less deadly.
Dr. Soul said just as the flu shot changes year to year and protects against the 3 or 4 top strains that season, she believes that is something that we'll have to deal with when it comes to the coronavirus as well. Along with her colleagues, she said she hopes the vaccines will change to fit the new variants that emerged that season. Rich Capola, News 8.
Oh, where did Lamont go? Hold on a second, guys. I apologize for that. I apologize for that. That was a wrong video. Anyway, what she's saying is 100% correct. Like the variants, they change. This is the video. I'm sorry. I thought I had Lamont that he was going to be up there. Let me go. Hold on a second, guys. Let me pull that back up. It could have been that it already had played because I thought I want to share with you. Hold on. This has got to be it. You just got to see this because you can't make this stuff up. Let's see if we can. Here we go. And now, of course, here.
This new spike we're having, but is there a silver lining here? Could we be closer to the finish line now with COVID? News 8's Rich Capola is here tonight with details on that. Rich.
Well, take action now to help end the pandemic. That's the message from Governor Lamont and State Health Commissioner Dr. Manisha Jitani, who says the unvaccinated make up the overwhelming majority of hospitalizations.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
And the governor agrees.
That's a lie.
We have all the tools to keep you safe. More importantly, you have all the tools to keep yourself safe. And that's how we keep our schools open and our businesses running. And that's how we...
Look at this man. Look at this man. Do you see his ears? Okay, do you see the way that mask looks on his face? It's like so tight around his head. Look at this man. I can't... And the language that's really upsetting to me lately is that these people are talking about how you are going to need these N95 masks. Can you imagine putting this on your child for 8 hours a day? The governor cannot figure out how to properly put this mask on. And let me just tell you this about N95s, and I know this from my healthcare worker friends and family members, okay? I've had a detailed conversation with nurses and a nurse in ER. Shout out to Josiah Dan, who shared this with me. And he said, when they put those masks on, we do a fit test where they put this mask on and they spray like a scent. And if you could smell the scent, the mask isn't working correctly. And these are nurses and they know, they're trained in how to put this PPE on and they only wear it once. These masks are absolutely, first of all, masks just in general are bogus. There is not one randomized control trial out there that shows the efficacy of this mass mandate for masking. It actually, we know, and there are some soft studies out there where parents in Florida took their children's masks, sent them out to a lab, had them tested, and the things that came back on those tests were like, strep was on there, and these different bacterial pneumonia was on there, and all this different stuff that is very concerning. So, and then there was a study out of Germany, and like I said, there are no randomized controlled trials about masking children for hours and hours a day, and the trials that we do have, the randomized controlled trials that we do have about using masks to stop virus spread, it doesn't work. Okay, if it works so great, like these people will scream 1918, 1918. If it really worked in 1918, why would we have ever dropped this practice? Why doesn't anyone ask these logical questions? Okay, from my understanding, there was information and leading to a lot of people at that time period to believe that masks were actually causing bacterial pneumonia. And there is proof of that masks can cause these other illnesses and respiratory viruses. I'm not making this stuff up. And science, there's a football player, Aaron Rodgers, I believe is his name, and I loved what he said. If you can't question science, it's propaganda. Science is about open debate and questioning. And they're censoring all of these important doctors, and God bless Joe Rogan. If you haven't seen the Dr. Robert Malone interview, please do. The Dr. Peter McCullough, please see him, the Joe Rogan interview. And also you can follow those guys on Substack. Substack is great. All of my favorite people are starting to jump onto Substack. I'm working on putting an account together there myself. I'm putting out videos on Substack as well. You can follow Robert Malone there on Substack and Peter McCullough. And so all these censored doctors and Dr. Geet Vandenbosch, You can follow him now on Getter. So there's all these scientists, all these experts in the field. Like Dr. Robert Malone was one of the inventors. He helped invent the mRNA technology. I would say he's highly qualified to debate Fauci. Dr. Peter McCullough is a board-certified doctor. He's a cardiologist. He's been published a bazillion times. He's an editor for a major medical journal. These people are no joke, but their voices are being silenced. So all we get is the TV, the corporate TV scientists like Fauci, who, by the way, is making hand over fist with the patents that he has. Dr. Fauci is the highest paid bureaucrat in the whole country. Dr. Fauci makes more money than the president. And that isn't even go into the royalties that he gets for all of the patents that he has. But let's listen again to Governor Lamont, who is basically spewing down from on high to the Biden administration. Biden and Lamont are buddies. So this N95 talk, also you'll see it on CNN with that crazy communist doctor, Dr. Lorena Wren, who is the scariest woman alive, who needs to go take an American history course or like move back to wherever the hell you came from, because we don't want this style communism in the United States. And that's just the truth. I want freedom. I want to be able to make my own medical decisions, to decide what I want to do with my body and my health, and not give that power up to this guy. So let's continue listening. Sorry for going off on the rant. Let's go. Here we go. Governor Dum Dum.
We're able to continue to deliver along.
Look at him!
During what I think is the final stages of COVID.
On Friday, the World Health Organization said that this can be the year we end the pandemic if we do it together. All along, doctors have said we need to get to herd immunity. And I spoke with Yale Medicine neuroimmunologist Dr. Sharon Stoll today. She thinks we're near, if not past that point of herd immunity with the Omicron variant, adding in general, when viruses mutate, they become more contagious and less virulent.
This is no longer a novel virus that our immune systems and our bodies have never been exposed to before. And I believe it's that combination that is making it much more tolerable and less deadly.
Dr. Stoll said just as the flu shot changes year to year and protects against the 3 or 4 top strains that season, she believes that is something that we'll have to deal with when it comes to the coronavirus as well. Along with her colleagues, she said she hopes the vaccines will change to fit the new variants that emerged that season.
Okay, so let me just say, you know what, guys? So that was more sense that was made in a while with some of this stuff. Yeah, the virus mutates, and as it goes through the population, we develop herd immunity. And anybody who's been paying any attention to what the science is and what herd immunity is, natural immunity, natural infection, natural immunity counts, okay? And vaccine immunity is never going to be as good as natural immunity. Now, I could be censored for saying that, ironically, which is just absolutely insane. And we have to question this whole idea of censorship and misinformation and spreading vaccine hesitancy and all this nonsense. We're talking about a product that is liability free. Okay, the product is liability free. Pfizer has been convicted of fraud, of bribery, of all these crimes, and has paid out billions of dollars in fines for these crimes. But we're supposed to just, okay, and all of them are problematic. Well, Moderna's never even produced anything successful. That's Fauci's baby. Okay, so that's Fauci's mRNA vaccine, and he has got royalties on that patent, and no journalist will ever talk about these things. And I find that extremely, extremely problematic. So let me take you over to here, because I wanted to share with you some important stuff. So let's just take a walk over here with these N95s. I'm kind of jumping around, and I apologize. There's just so much density to cover that it can make you crazy. So I'm going to stay with the N95 mask, because the language right now coming from the mainstream press and from politicians and Lamont's going to give out these masks. I'm not sure if he's giving out the N95s, but that's what he's talking about. Now he's starting to wear one. He doesn't even wear it right. Can you imagine putting a child into that thing? Do you see people walking around with them? They're like really tight to the head. It's like, they're not for the general public. And N95, none of these masks are for the general public. I mean, they're just not. They're not designed for that. Surgical masks are designed to be in a medical environment. You're going to be in surgery. People say, hey, doctors and nurses wear masks. Well, actually, no, it wasn't common practice for regular doctors and nurses to always have masks on. In a surgical environment, yes. In a dental environment, yes. Just in regular practice, no. I have relatives who are nurses, okay? And I talk to them and they tell me about what life was like pre-COVID and after COVID, all right? And they were making nurses wear used PPE, which is a huge fat no-no. You don't wear used PPE. Okay, it's just crazy insane. But while the nurses are forced to wear used PPE during the throes of this pandemic, Jack Rubenstein LLC, remember that name? Just remember that name. Go take a gander of that in Open Checkbook. And Jack Rubenstein LLC was paid millions and millions and millions, like over $10 million. For PPE. All of a sudden his company is like, oh, we're going to get into PPE. So this is just crazy. I'm going to play this video because my dog is barking. Somebody's here, probably my husband. I'm going to play this video while the dog is barking, and hopefully this will take out the barking dog. So this is the CDC talking about N95 masks. Take a listen.
We've been receiving many questions from you, our viewers, about this latest COVID surge and ways to stay safe. And all week, we're asking doctors in the tri-state to answer those questions. So joining us now is Dr. Brad Sherman, Medical Director at Glencoe Hospital in Nassau County. And Doctor, thank you so much for joining us. But before, thank you, Sean. Great. Well, before we get to our viewer questions, I know today the CDC adjusted the timeline for getting a booster of the Pfizer vaccine from 6 months to 5 months after a second standard dose. So this is really good news. How do you think this is going to impact your patients?
Good news?
Yeah, I think that's terrific. We have seen waning immunity, and we have seen patients getting sicker sooner. So I think the fact that patients are able to get that booster shot sooner is really good news, and they should abide by those rules and get the vaccine if they haven't.
Yeah, you got to get them. Well, now I want to get to our viewer questions. This one ties into what we were just talking about. Colleen and Jackson.
Did you hear that? I just got to pause that there for a minute. The journalist is saying, yeah, got to get them. And this isn't what journalists are supposed to sound like, okay? So now the CDC, she says that, right? So this video is on the N95 mask, and then she put that in at the top that, about, oh, yay, the CDC is saying that now you need the booster shot every 5 months. That's not good news, folks. So you're going to get how many shots a year? Right? And this is the one they're mandating now. And if they can get away with these mandates, if they continue to do these things, if they're continue to be able to do this, it won't be just this shot. It'll be a whole other thing. It'll be you're going to be mandated to get a flu shot to keep your job. And I have a way more to say about the Supreme Court and how excited I am about that. The fact that Aaron Siri is fighting this. He's such a great attorney. He's connected to I Can Decide, which is connected. That's Del Bigtree's nonprofit organization. I'm going to be doing a whole show on that later this week, talking about the Supreme Court case about these vaccine mandates. But here the point is that what the government there's no stop gauge if they continue to get away with this. So how many shots are they going to be telling you to get? And my question is when are people going to get tired of this? And how is the shot for the first novel virus that you're still using? How is that shot going to be good for any of these variants like the flu shot? It's a shot in the dark. The flu shot vaccine efficacy on a good year might be 40%. That means you have a 40% chance if you get the shot that you won't get it. 40%? But the list of side effects and the issues that can happen to you from doing that is profound. So the benefit-risk ratio isn't matching that. And you're not getting real informed consent because we're not having a real conversation here. We're not getting really to the bottom of this. What do you mean the CDC all of a sudden now is like every 5 months you get a shot? So that's a lot of shots. And where is the stop gauge for this? When does it stop? It's very, very concerning. And now they just approved booster shots without going through the proper procedure that they would, where they have a hearing with the FDA. I opened this show today with a VBRAC hearing. That's an acronym for like the vaccine. It's like a group of corrupted scientists. I'm sorry, but it's a group of scientists. They have this open public debate. And every time they have these meetings, we get these juicy videos that come out where they're saying, oh, well, we won't know if this vaccine is going to cause harm until we start using it, which goes against the whole philosophy of first do no harm. That goes totally against that narrative. And you're rushing this out there and you're making people take it. So let's continue to listen to this crazy news story. You just can't make this up. What a terrible, that's not journalism. She's like, pharmaceutical cheerleader. Here we go.
In Township, New Jersey, wants to know, if you get the Omicron variant and you have 2 doses of the vaccine, how long do you have to wait to get the booster shot?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Can you hear me okay, Shade?
I do. Thank you.
Okay, great. The answer is that, like the other variants, it's recommended to wait 90 days before getting the booster because your body is generating its own immunity against the variants when you're either exposed or when you actually have the COVID virus. So 90 days is that recommendation.
Okay. And we've got another call from Alexandria, New Jersey, and she asks, if I am pregnant and catch COVID-19, will it affect my baby in any way?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. There have been studies that are suggestive that it could potentially affect the baby. All the more reason to get vaccinated.
They have no idea what this does in pregnancy, okay? I read through their data. What the FDA, what the Pfizer vaccine and Moderna sent to the FDA, what we could see, because they still haven't put out all the data, what we could see, and with that, okay, they're saying that they don't know. They have a registry for pregnant women. I don't think most pregnant women realize this. Okay, they have a registry so that they could follow pregnant women after this jab and see where it goes, okay? And then they say this on TV, and I'm just blown away by it. I'm blown away by it, and like, you know what? A virus is going to virus, right? So when that Yale doctor is talking about, herd immunity, reaching herd immunity, we have to learn to live with this virus the way we've learned to live with all viruses throughout humanity and go about our lives. You know what? If you're not feeling well, stay home. When you use the toilet, wash your hands, right? Basic stuff that your grandmother would tell you to do, you know? You don't have to wash your hands like a freak, but like when you come home and it's like cold season, I just wash my hands before I eat. You know, washing your hands before you eat is probably a good idea. But, you know, nobody should be mandating this stuff. You know, it's just like common like hygiene practices. Okay, so we haven't gotten to the N95 discussion, but we're getting there. Here we go.
Even if you are pregnant at this time. And if you are pregnant and get the virus, you should absolutely contact your doctor.
Really, really good advice. So important.
Really good advice. I'm not a journalist.
Well,
I'm a
this
cheerleader.
comes from Victor, and he says, I am a healthy man in my 70s with no immunocompromised conditions, knowing that most people getting the Omicron variant have mild symptoms. Does that include individuals like me over 65?
So the answer is we've been seeing patients who are unvaccinated really have fairly severe symptoms. It is not.
That's a total fallacy. I'm sorry, and I have to like get back to where he was. That's a total fallacy, okay? First of all, they don't have any data on that. That's total anecdotal. All right, instead of saying fallacy, I'm going to say it's completely anecdotal. And actually, when I was reading through Aaron Siri's brief to the Supreme Court, and what he was saying, and you know what, guys, get on Aaron Siri's Substack. It's Siri. It's Siri. I'm going to do a whole show on that, so I didn't have the notes with me on that one, but I was just reading. I haven't read through the whole thing, but he was using data from Canada and showing absolutely the opposite of what this guy just said. Okay, I don't even want to start to get into too deep because YouTube is going to flag me, and I've got this new pirate channel. I'm going to try and keep it for as long as possible and looking at other places to get my videos to go up on. So it's extremely frustrating to be censored this way and not to be able to easily have these conversations without having your videos taken down. It's absolutely maddening. So basically what Aaron Siri's brief to the Supreme Court is that this is just, no, it's the opposite. It's opposite. It's totally opposite. They're seeing the opposite effect, and we're seeing that data out of Europe. We're seeing that data out of Canada. There's data coming out of other countries that are saying the opposite, the exact opposite of what this guy just said.
Sooner is really good news, and they should.
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward here, and because I'm sorry, I rewound it. Let's go over here. He's just saying a bunch of nonsense.
From Alexandria, New Jersey, and she asks, if I am pregnant and catch COVID-19, will it affect my baby in any way?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. There have been studies that are suggestive that it could potentially affect the baby.
Okay, let me go past here because we already saw the news pushing. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life where they're pushing this on pregnant women. This is like egregious. It's unbelievable. And, you know, it was Dr. Malone that said it, and it was trending all over Twitter, but it's mass formation psychosis. He really hit it on the head. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, how is this even possible? They say it in their own literature that they studied rats for a short period of time. They studied rats. And that's not studying pregnant. Rats aren't humans. Rats are rats. Yes, I know. We've used mice and rat models and all this, and there could be they have humanized mice now, by the way. Not to freak you guys out. Go look that up. They have humanized mice. They're doing some funky things in these laboratories, and it's just crazy stuff. But anyway, they have a very small look at pregnant rats, and then they're saying this is perfectly fine and safe for women, pregnant women, and I'm just completely shocked by it. Okay, here we go.
Mothers out there. Well, this question comes from Victor, and he says, I am a healthy man in my 70s.
Okay, I'm going to get to the N95. Sorry, guys, about that. Here we go.
Really have fairly severe symptoms. It is not always the case that you're going to have mild symptoms. So you're playing roulette if you're going to wait and not get vaccinated and hope that you get mild symptoms. My recommendation to that gentleman is to get vaccinated and not take that chance.
Yeah, you don't want to take any chances out there. Doctor, thank you so much. Always great information.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's Dr. Brad Sherman, medical director at Glen Cove Hospital. Thank you again for joining us. And if you have any questions weighing on your...
Okay, so that little video, I thought I had the video up where it was Dr. Walensky of the CDC. So I have another video that I'll share with you, but let me just read this to you guys where it says, there's been a lot of back and forth throughout the pandemic with doctors recommending wearing N95 masks, but CDC Director Rochelle Walensky is recommending the general public not wear them. Okay, do you understand? She has said this, and I have another video for you guys that I'll pull up. This is a CNN video, and this is specifically talking about the N95s. And just take a listen to this clown world stuff. Let's listen. Sorry about the commercial. So I'll mute this through the commercial. Okay. I wish I could skip it, but I can't. Here we go.
Wearing masks like N95 masks and other types of masks when they are out in public. I've noticed you've been wearing 2 masks lately. For example, should there be N95 masks for everyone?
And also, she wanted to know if the Biden administration was going to be sending them out to Americans.
No, well, I'm not sure that will happen. I'll ask Dr. Walensky about that. But the one thing that I will say, and I'm sure Dr. Walensky will back me on this, is that the most important thing is that everybody should be wearing a mask. The CDC does not recommend that you must wear 2 masks, nor does the CDC recommend that you have to wear an N95 mask. They just say the most important thing is get everybody to wear a mask. And I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Walensky, because she and I talk about this all the time.
That's exactly right. So everybody should be wearing a mask. Everybody, if you're wearing a cloth mask, it should be a multi-layered mask so that you have several layers of protection for a single mask. And there are certainly ongoing studies evaluating the protective efficacy of these masks, especially in the context of these new variants we're seeing. And so we'll see more data on that to come.
Does it make sense, Dr. Walensky, for the federal government to send out masks to American households?
You know, it's not entirely clear to me that the reason that people aren't wearing masks is because they don't have access to them. Certainly, I would highly advocate for those in areas where they're under-resourced and they can't purchase masks or they don't have access to masks. We need to make sure that people have the adequate protection. But it's not entirely clear in my mind that the challenge with mask wearing has been one of access.
Yeah.
Is the reason the CDC is not recommending N95 masks like this for everybody is because there's not enough? Because it does seem to offer a lot more protection. Dr. Abrar Karan recently said that if people wore these masks in public, we could start to really bring the pandemic down, almost end it within 4 weeks, is what he said, an extraordinary statement. But why not just recommend it, especially with these more transmissible variants?
Yeah, it's a really good question and one we get a lot. I have spent a reasonable amount of time in an N95 mask. They're hard to tolerate all day, every day. And in fact, when you really think about how well people will wear them, I worry that if we suggest or require that people wear N95s, they won't wear them all the time. They're very hard to breathe in when you wear them properly. They're very hard to tolerate when you wear them for long periods of time. I do think that if everybody is wearing a mask, if you're wearing it, if you're 6 feet apart and anybody else who you might be with is also wearing a mask, that you have enough protective efficacy in the barriers of those two masks and the space between you that you probably don't need it.
Two masks, because why wear one when you could really suffocate yourself with two? All of this stuff, all this social distancing, all of this stuff, there is no science at all to back it up. None, zero, none. No science to back up any of this. It's all anecdotal, based on speculative models that are easy to manipulate. And on that note, I'm going to play you guys one more video because it's really funny. And let's take a look at this. This is our legislative building. It was closed, as many of you guys know. It was closed, and the legislators were getting drunk passing laws. There was nothing done to these legislators, not a stinking thing. So this legislator's actually having trouble speaking. And I'm sorry, I don't know why my camera is unfocusing me. Here, I'm gonna switch back over here. I don't know what's going on. All right, so she was, for some reason, I don't know why it's doing that. So let's take a peek at this. This is our legislative body in all its glory.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to take this opportunity to recognize that, a constituent of mine came up to me and wanted to know why she was able to excuse me. I had to tell her that she was that Connecticut was a state that didn't offer support, that the ELL program that through the Shoreline Adult Education, and I was wondering if this was an opportunity for her to opportunity for her to understand that she was able to I'm sorry.
Chamber usted nariz.
So this is
Of mine.
this is Representative. That was Representative Comey.
This
Sorry,
is your
hold
home.
on a second. That was Representative Comey, and she was drunk, publicly drunk, while working. If you were, now I think she could be even having other health issues, like maybe she's on medication and she's mixing the medication, but whatever. What would happen if you got drunk at work? What would happen to you if you got drunk at work? If you were at your job, in the act of doing your job, these people are voting on bills that affect our lives. Okay? And we are locked out of the building at this point when this was happening. We were locked out of the building and kept out of our state house while these legislators are passing laws that affect our lives, and they're drinking. And the Capitol was abuzz with this fact. And we, the public, only got information after they got caught on video. I have another picture I will pull out of Representative Josh Elliott of the 88th District. I don't have that photo easily on hand with me now, but that photo, he's there, he's drinking his shot of bourbon. And hey, I appreciate alcohol in its proper time and place. Don't get me wrong, okay? But you don't go drinking on the job. That's just not what we do. As a civil society, how are we supposed to have any kind of trust in government when it kicks us out of our own house? And the arrogance of these legislators who are rude to their constituents. I've had Senator Norm Needleman. Oh, this guy, let me just grab this because I have this here. Because at one time I was a registered Democrat. This is a true story. One time I was a registered Democrat, and I'm on the mailing list of all these things, right? Because I was a registered Democrat. I'm not anymore. It really is Connecticut that pushed me out of that. I've been in every party under the sun. I have no party allegiance. I feel like Del Bigtree says this all the time, a political maroon. I can relate to that, okay? Because I don't think we should have allegiance to a party blindly, right? But this guy, he's very wealthy. This is Norm Needleman. He doesn't return phone calls. He sends out these baloney brochures. He's a wealthy guy. He's not here to serve. He's not here to be a senator of the 33rd district. This guy is here for his own benefit, for his own business. It's like a business investment for these felonious guys. He never contacts back. I'm just using him as an example. He's god awful, and I don't even know who's running for them. I've asked in my town page. I don't know. I'm thinking about running against him, and I'm not sure that's something that I'm going to do. But if nobody's running, somebody's got to run in the 33rd district against this man. But anyway, that's even beside the point. The point being that these legislators are passing laws while they're drunk. And they're keeping the public out of the building. We had a 24-hour hearing on the religious exemption for children to opt out of vaccines. We've had those exemptions in place forever. Vaccines were never mandatory in this country. And when they became mandatory, there was always a means for people to say, no, thank you. Because we live in a country based on the principles of freedom and sovereignty and the individual rights. That is, I don't want to live in a collective society. It is extremely selfish to tell people that you have to take this liability-free product from a company or entities that are completely liability-free, some of them convicted felons. Pfizer has paid billions and billions of dollars out for fraud, for bribery. Their things have killed people. And we're going to accept that this mandate. And if we don't, then we're labeled all these terrible things. We're censored. We're shadow banned, and all this awful stuff, treated like secondary class citizens. I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely fed up, tired of it. One last thing before I go, because I think this is important to share with you guys. This is I just wanted to bring this over to you. This is the last thing I'll say on this here. Just that we did talk about this, but I just want to pull this up again for you. Let me hold on a second. I'm sorry. Let me transition. About this is profound, guys, and they keep changing this stuff all the time. They flip-flop. It's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. And every 5 months, and now they're pushing these N95s. And my concern is that here in the state of Connecticut, under the tyranny of Governor Lamont, what is going to happen with our kids? What is going to happen? They just approved the 12 to 15-year-olds to get these booster shots. And I played for you this video way at the beginning. I'm going to close with that same video from the FDA. I'm going to close with that video right after I'm done playing this. You guys, this video is, it's just like, I really, we got to do something about this. We can't tolerate this. I'm going to play this video when I close out in the FDA. So they approved the booster for the 12 to 15-year-olds without going through the proper channels, even though those channels are very corrupted and they're just going to do what they're going to do anyway. But at least the public has an opportunity to speak out. And the last time they had these meetings, I was able to connect with some folks that have been injured. I'm looking forward to reaching out and interviewing them and once I figure out how to bring interviews onto this new platform, I haven't figured that out yet. I'm going to have guests coming in and talking about various different things relating to this and just living in this world in the current, how to save our republic, basically, and what to do about these medical mandates and those kinds of things, and also just sharing people's stories. So through these FDA hearings and meetings, we can learn a lot and hear the public's testimony. We also see, which this video I'm going to show you of Dr. Eric Rubin, and what he says is quite shocking and disturbing. So it's important that even though we know where it's going to go because the system is very corrupt, we basically need to take the CDC, the FDA, chop it up and throw it in the trash can. They're felonious organizations. They need to go. They are unconstitutional. They do not have a bearing on American citizens' lives. The CDC does not make laws. I don't know why anyone is following any of this nonsense with the CDC all of a sudden has the authority to make laws, that Joe Biden thinks that he can have OSHA come in and mandate these experimental jabs onto people in order to work. Aaron Siri is taking them to the Supreme Court. There are 27 states behind this, okay? 27 states and numerous organizations suing Joe Biden. They have a case right now in the Supreme Court to stop the 6th court. So the 5th court said, we're going to stop this, put an injunction on Joe Biden's mandate. Then the 6th Circuit Court said, oh no, we're going to take away that injunction and we're going to allow the mandate to go. So they've taken it to the Supreme Court, and they're asking the Supreme Court to just skip all that, make a decision, and start to hear it right at that level. So Aaron Siri gives everything. You could read through all that information yourself. I'm going to hopefully come on live maybe tomorrow and see if I can read through all that to give you guys a presentation or a synopsis of what that looks like. It's a lot of material to read through, but he's a great attorney. I've had the pleasure of meeting him on a couple of occasions and seeing him in action, and I got to tell you, I feel really good about this, and I hope to God that our judicial branch of government will bring some sanity back into our state. And dear God, it is an election year. It is on. Okay? Find out who's running in your district. And if nobody's running, consider running. I'm looking into that right now. Right now, it's not looking like anybody's running. I'm hoping that somebody's going to be running. Run on a third party too. You don't have to just be stuck with Republican, Democrat. Third parties can win races, okay, if you're really organized. I want to have a whole conversation with people in third parties who've had success and whatnot, because I think the two-party paradigm needs to be just totally deconstructed, and we need to have more competition to keep these people on their toes, okay? We can't just judge people by party. We have to be open to the person and what they're actually doing. So on that note, I'm going to close out with this last video from the FDA. So yeah, this is more nonsense from the CDC recommending this booster at 5 months intervals. I think about the children. I think about these kids. I think about our kids. We got to do something. We got to stop this. This is an important election year. If Lamont wins, the tyranny in Connecticut is going to be off the charts. Okay, if Lamont and his motley crew of drunk Democrats come back into office with their arrogance, where they think their constituents are serfs, They don't see us as constituents. They see us as like, oh, we're a bother. You are a public servant. You are elected to represent your constituents, not as a business investment. Norm Needleman, Matthew Ritter, Bob Duff, Ned Lamont, because Ned Lamont, they're all making money off of us, and then putting these really draconian laws into place, all in the name of collectivism and in this nonsensical CDC nonsense with a 1 minute this, 1 minute that. Get this, how many shots? How many shots? How many? It's never going to end. So here we go with this last one. Oh, thank you, Jill. I look forward to having you on. I want to talk with you when I can figure out how to do that, which is going to be soon. Because I love what you're doing too. You're really awesome, Jill. Thank you. So Jill Swanson, you guys follow her. She does a live video too, and she's on fire and sharing stories and sharing information that's happening. And I really, if you have an attraction to doing this, do it. Just don't let nothing stop you. Whatever it is you feel like you can do to run for office, do a podcast, write articles, research. There's so much all of us can do to bring changes. On that note, I'm going to share this video with you. It's an election year. We need to change this stuff around, guys, because this is insane.
Thanks, Dr. Monto. This is a much tougher one, I think, than we had expected coming into it. The data show that the vaccine works and it's pretty safe, at least by immunobridging and even by some clinical data. Some early clinical data. And yet, we're worried about all of these, we're worried about a side effect that we can't measure yet, but it's probably real. And we see a benefit that isn't the same as it is in older age groups. So for me, I think it's going to revolve around two questions. First off, whether there is going to be a use for this vaccine in this age group, and then how the decision gets made to use it within this age group. And I think what sways me here is that is a very sort of personal choice. If I had a child who was a transplant recipient, I would really want to be able to use a vaccine like this. And there are certainly kids who probably should be vaccinated. The question of how broadly to use it, though, I think is a substantial one. And I know it's not our question, but I know we're kind of punting that to ACIP. But I do think that it's a relatively close call. And as Dr. Levy just said, as Dr. Gann said, it really is going to be a question of what the prevailing conditions are. But we're never going to learn about how safe the vaccine is unless we start giving it. That's just the way it goes. That's how we found out about rare complications of other vaccines like the rotavirus vaccine. And I do think that we are going to, I do think we should vote to approve it.